Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward.
What's up, real business owners? Welcome back to another episode of the Real Business Owners Podcast. You guys, we have episode 132 today. And really, you guys, what I'm doing is I am bringing you guys into a talk that I did with a local entrepreneur group. They asked me to come out and speak to them, and I covered a lot of great things in this talk to this group, and I wanted to share it with you guys as well. Just really covering some backstory about my entrepreneurship journey, but also some things that we all need to be thinking of as entrepreneurs, because one thing that I've learned, especially this last couple years in business, is really the value of being more strategic instead of just tactical. We hit these ceilings in business, and as entrepreneurs, that's why so many of you guys out there chasing multiple 6 figures and multiple 7 figures, and you're trying to get to 8 figures, and I believe going to 9 figures is the same reason I've hit ceilings in my business is we get so tactical, right? Like, we just show up, we hustle, we grind, but we're not very strategical people. But at the same time, we also, if we're super strategical, but we're not very tactical, we don't even get our businesses off the ground, right? We put together the most perfect plan, and we're strategic, and we have these great strategies, but there's no action behind it because we're more strategical people than we are tactical. Everybody is one or the other. They're heavy strategical and very little tactical, or they're heavy tactical and very little strategical. And so I talked to you guys in this talk that I gave to this entrepreneur group called Startup and Grind. I'm going to talk to you guys about that, as well as some other things as well. I really hope you guys enjoy it. And if you do, rate it, review it, share it, and we appreciate you guys. Much love. All right. Well, first of all, I want to say thanks to Don. I was telling some people right before we started how I don't do a whole lot in the community. We have a nationwide accounting business, which is kind of our main thing, as well as a credit repair company that we market nationwide. And so I do a lot of marketing and networking nationwide. But I'm just super pumped to see that we got some stuff going on here in St. George, because I haven't been able to be a part of some local stuff. So I'm excited to be here more for that. So. But it's called Startup and Grind. He told me there's going to be a lot of people in the startup journey of their businesses coming out to this. And so as I kind of thought about what I want to talk about with you guys, I just wanted to give some real experiences about what we've been through. I mean, there's 15 years I've been in business, going to be 16 coming up here in February. And it's like where we were in the first 5 years versus where we are now in the last 5 years is just totally just different, right? It's just our intentions have changed. Our conversations have changed within our company. And that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about, because the way that I was brought up in business is very interesting. Like, I kind of cut my teeth just as a sales guy in call centers right here in town, and I don't know if many of you know about how these call centers work, but it's the culture of just, cash grab and, go get money and sell, and you learn the art of persuasion and manipulation, and you learn all these things. And so basically that's how I started my businesses, right? It's like, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong, even though I feel like, back of your mind, you know, right? There's this voice that you're suppressing. It's like, hey, like, this doesn't feel right, but I was on a mission. I had goals. I wanted to it was all money. It was all greed, right? And it's like, I built teams of sales guys to come in and train them what I was trained to do. And at the end of the day, I built several 7-figure businesses that imploded. Business partnerships fall apart, cancels, chargebacks from customers, and now you're selling even more to just try and keep up with the chargebacks and the cancels and the things that go on in an environment like that. And so, and when you're suppressing a voice in the back of your head that you're like, hey, something's not right. You're not yourself. You're not your best self. And I wasn't either. I walked around with a lot of anger. I walked around with problems, insecurities, and took it out the wrong way. And it took some shifts in life to change that trajectory. Broke up a family. My wife left me. Had to endure the thought of another man raising my children, and I had to fight through court for over 2 years to get 50% custody. And I ended up in therapy for about 5 years. And that was what I call my first real
personal growth coach, and it helped me a tremendous amount in business. So about 10 years, that was my first 5 years in business. And my goal is to spread that message with people, because my hopes is that people don't go down these same roads, right? People's first 5 years in business are like our last 5 years in business. And our last 5 years in business are really been incredible. And I'm not the best at bragging, but we've built an 8-figure accounting firm. We've built a multi 7-figure credit repair company. My business partners are making 7 figures. We have 7-figure investment portfolios. We have key players in our company making multi 6 figures and building also investments with us as the owners of the company. And I'm so proud of that culture, not because of all the money, but because of the message that's changing our company and the culture that we've built around that. And so my hope is that people will take our last 5 years and mimic that, because I want to see people go through those same heartaches. I want to see people go through those same problems. So it took me going through some real personal things to shift and start having better intentions and building proper teams in our business. And recently I picked up a book that was called, and it was really confirming about this journey that I've gone through. It's called The Ultimate Sales Machine. Have any of you guys read that book by Chet Holmes? Every single person, if you're in business, should read that book. I picked it up because I'm a salesman at heart. I'm always trying to look at ways to sharpen skills for my team and bring them back to them in the sales division. And that's not what this book was about. It was about building your business as the ultimate sales machine, from systems, processes, leadership, team building. And so I highly recommend anybody read that book. But early on, he talked about the benefits of being strategic and tactical. And that 95% of business operators, entrepreneurs, startups, they're very heavy on one or the other. You're either super tactical, which is what I was, or you're super strategic, but you're not tactical. There's no action behind your great ideas, your plans, your strategies, right? You're not going to get anywhere doing that. He says there's only like 5% of people, entrepreneurs, that really possess this quality of being both. And those are the people that excel and have these great businesses. And the way it was worded, I kind of took it as like, well, you're either one or the other, and I don't really believe that. I think it's developed, because that's what I've done the last 10 years in business. And I've become a lot more strategical on top of the tactics, because our tactics were show up, grind, get leads, make sales, say whatever you got to do to get deals done, like hustle, wear all the hats, and you get to a point where you implode, right? Like I did with my first several businesses. And so that's really a message that I want to share with people is the value of developing a strategy in your business, and not being just tactical, or not just being so strategical that you're not tactical, because that's what we see so often. Our company, Real Business Owners, that's all we do is consult startups. They reach out to us, they need coaching, they need training, and so many of them are one or the other, but we need to develop this balance. We need to become as 50-50 as possible. We need to be strategic and we need to be tactical. And what changed for us in the last 5 years is our conversations changed as partners. Obviously going through personal growth journeys and business growth journeys and hiring mentors and surrounding ourselves with great companies, we saw a pattern of really to achieve true success, you need to create an experience. And that's really what our business did. We changed our intentions. We didn't want to provide a service that was just half-ass fulfilled and hope that they don't want to cancel or they get some value out of it. Like, we wanted to create an experience from start to finish. And we've done that in our marketing. We've done that in our sales, with our sales teams that we've built. We've done it with our follow-up in our customers, in our fulfillment processes. And that's kind of hard to do as an accounting firm. A lot of people, they hire an accountant and they just expect to go see their accountant once a year, drop off their taxes, and it's like, they're like the last guy they want to see, right? You tell them how much they owe the IRS or how much they're getting back, but it's like, financial part of business, as some of you guys know, they're in the financial industry, it's like the most boring part. It's like the least sexy part of business. So we're like, how can we change the game? How can we become more interesting? How can we create an experience from start to finish so that we can take this thing to the next level? And that worked. The last 5 years is what's achieved the success that I talked to you guys about. It's what's changed the game and the culture in our company. So that's been the game changer for us, is not just being tactical, not just showing up and doing the hustle and the grind, but showing up with a strategy of how can I really provide an experience? Because there's one thing that's, no matter what, the best marketing still to this day, and that is word of mouth marketing. You know, when our customers turn into our best referral sources, that means you're doing something right. And that was kind of that's what's given us the ability to scale and compound the growth that we've been achieving. But there's one other area that I want to talk about too. And I know I talked to Don, he said, you know, talk for like 20 minutes and then we'll open up some Q&A. And this one other area is the one area that we were a little bit strategical in the early days of our business. And it's what allowed us to sustain all the implosions and the problems and the growth that we were hindered from. And we were strategic about our money, you know, and that's the one thing that we did right in the very early stages of our business. We put together a plan. And it really started from my business partner, Jeremy, coming and asking me a question. He said, hey man, you've been a part of all these call centers. And then we've built our business around a kind of a call center model. And, you know, I see a lot of them go out of business. They don't last very long. And he said, what do you think that is? And I was like, man, you know what I think it is? I think it's these business owners, they live beyond their means, right? They, get their business profiting $20,000 a month, and that's like their piggy bank. You know, that's their money. They go and they live beyond their means, and then they can't weather storms or downtimes or, you know, when things struggle in their business. And as loyal as we might have with the people that we hire and bring into our company, they're loyal to the family that they have and the mouths that they feed. And when you can't cover payroll, you can only have so many conversations of, hey man, you know, can you write it out another week? I just need I need to get that drop from our merchant account in order to cover payroll, you know? And I've seen so many companies built like that where it was just, you know, they live beyond their means. And so we put together a strategy, and our strategy has been the same for every company that we've built. The strategy is stack cash, right? Like don't live beyond our means. So the first company we built, we said, hey, here's the deal. And I got fired for starting a side hustle from an accounting company I worked at as a sales guy. And I was making about $150,000 a year as a young dad. And it was before the divorce and the breakup and all that stuff. But I got forced to go all in on this company because I got fired. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me. In fact, when my boss fired me, he said, hey, it's probably one of the best things that ever happened to you, man. You know, you're going to have to go all in now. You know, he found out it was a side hustle. He didn't like it. So, but it did that, forced us to go all in. But when we had this conversation about money, I said, hey man, I'm going to take a big sacrifice, right? Like we have some cash flow coming in. We're making some money, but we got to take care of our people first. We got to have reserves in order to weather storms. We got to be able to ride out these downtimes in our business. We got to be able to keep our people happy. We got to be able to pay them if we can't even pay ourselves. And everybody wants to be a boss until they figure out you eat last when starting a business, right? And that's exactly what we learned. I went from making $2,000, $3,000 a week on average to making $500 a week. That's what we agreed upon. Hey, we're gonna pay ourselves $500 a week. We're not gonna give ourselves a raise until we have $100,000 in the bank account net. That was harder than I thought it was gonna be because there's all these expenses, there's all these things that come up, you know, you have hiccups. We had chargebacks. We had unhappy customers. That forced us to get one of our merchant accounts shut down. Well, they don't tell you. I don't know if you guys have ever ran like a company with crappy systems and processes like we had, but when a Visa or MasterCard calls you up, they actually don't call you. You have to call them. They just stop dropping money in your bank account. And you got to call them up, and they're like, what the heck's going on? Well, we had these couple chargebacks coming through. Now we want to review your entire company. They go through the review, and even if it checks out, they say, well, guess what? We're going to hold this money for 6 months just in case you continue to have these problems and you don't fix them. And so we learned a hard lesson, but we were smart enough to stack cash and be able to weather these storms. So now we're starting over, and we can't give ourselves a raise until we hit that 6 figures in business in our net checking account, in our bank account, right? So that was like our money strategy. We finally hit it, but it was tough because we also had to pay taxes. And when you have a strategy like that, hey, stacking cash, and you have a pass-through entity like your LLC or your S corporation, well, now you get a K1 at the end of the year. Then you got to take that to your tax guy, and that's like, oh, I got to pay taxes on this money that's still sitting in the business bank account, but I got to pay it personally. My partner had to pay it, and I had to pay it, and we had a $500 a week budget, right? We're still trying to feed our families, and I had developed a lifestyle of $150,000 a year, right? And so we had to learn to make those sacrifices, and we had to endure those issues, and we finally hit it, and we were able to inch our pay up. But after doing some math and looking at what our employees cost us and what each one made us, It's like, okay, now we can go to $700 a week, right? But that's exactly how we built our companies, and it was worth it. It was a payoff. Every single business we've built now, our accounting company's so big, we have to keep 7 figures in our bank account to weather storms. We didn't know what was going to happen in COVID, right? And same thing with the credit repair. Now it's like we have to keep $500,000 in there just to weather storms. But as it grows and you continue to increase the basis of your company, now you continue to raise yourself up. And that's what's given us the ability to now have these businesses that are like our cash cows. But we still do it to this day. We still make these sacrifices for the people within our company, for ourselves, for our families, for their families. And that's really what the one strategy that we did that worked. We were super tactical, every single one of us. We were like, hey, let's get in, let's hustle, let's grab cash, let's, high pressure sales tactics, like all these things that didn't work. In the last 5 years, our intentions changed. Our conversations were all about how can we create a strategy about the experience of our business and what we provide to our customer. How can we make it more interesting, not boring like a regular accounting firm? How can we follow up, make sure our customers really feel like they care about them? And that's been the best thing that's ever happened to our business model. That's what works, right? That's what works, is creating an experience. I'd rather my sales guys not be high pressure and earn the business the right way, so that even if it takes a couple months to earn that customer, they love us so much that they refer their friends or family. And that's just how it works. And it took me a long time to figure that out. As basic as that sounds, so many businesses that I've been surrounded with don't do it. Even some of the groups I'm a part of, high-level groups, 7, 8, 9-figure businesses down in Dallas, they're still trying to figure this out. Like, how do you create such a great experience? And that's really what we've done to change the game in our business. And that's what I encourage people to do. I encourage people to, first of all, become honest with yourself. Do you have the best sales practices? Are you high pressure? Do your customers love you? Are you getting positive reviews? Are they sending friends, family? Are they referring? And so that you can continue to compound and grow your company, because that's the indicator on if you're really doing things that impact people. And that's what became our strategy. How can I impact people? How can I create a great experience? And the one strategy that we did have with the money is the only reason that we're here. And so those are the two main things that I feel like are so important as for a startup, for a business owner, in these beginning stages, is make sure that you're not just tactical, but you're strategic with your money. You're strategic with the experience that you're creating. The sooner that you do that, the faster your business will compound, the faster you will see the growth, and the faster you'll be able to scale your business. And that's basically what changed the game for us. We had to go through a lot of hard learning lessons in order to get to that point. And there's a lot of amazing things going on now, and it's given us ability to create a different culture within our company that everybody feels good about. When your team comes in and they feel great about what they sell, what they do, they live up to that, we back up what we say we're gonna do, it's it just changes the culture. Because you as a business owner, you can't do everything. You can't wear all the hats. And that's what I was doing. I was customer service, I was sales, I was, making sure things got to fulfillment. I'm trying to manage fulfillment and sales, and it was miserable, honestly. You're just working in your business. You create a business that owns you instead of you owning the business. And so making that shift of our intention, having different conversations with our partners of let's do it right, was the best thing that we ever did. And it's given us the ability to own our businesses, become more strategic. But you've got to force it. Is there anybody in here that feels like they're more tactical than they are strategic? They just hustle, they grind, they show up, they wear all the hats, they do everything? I mean, how many of you do you feel like you're more heavy tactical than you are strategic? Okay. How many are more strategic? Okay. And you've got to force both sides, especially if you're in startup mode. I feel like a lot of you are a little more established in here that have showed up today, but bottom line is you've got to force it. I had to force it. I was not strategic at all. I was just all about showing up every day, solving problems, and I was owned by my business. And until I forced it, I sat down, I mapped things out. I created a long-term vision, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. What do I really want this to look like? And that's really what forced me to sit down and write out a plan on every bucket of our business. Money, we had some pretty good strategies. We've had to increase it over the years, but we had to get better on our networking. We had to have a strategy with it. We had to get more strategic with our marketing, how we created our leads, the people that we surrounded ourselves within our network, our sales practices, our fulfillment practices, our follow-up processes. We didn't even have follow-up processes. That's been a game changer for our business. Making sure that we're following up with them, even after the product and service is delivered, reaching in our pockets and pulling out money and sending them gifts, thank you cards, like that are handwritten, not computer generated. Like all these little things sound so basic, but so many business owners don't do it. So that's been the game changer, and that's really the message I wanted to share with you guys, because that's the journey that we've been on, and it's kind of a short, condensed version of it. But you know, we basically just changed the game for us by changing our intention, and that's the message I wanted to share with you guys. And I don't know, did I use up the 20 minutes already? But I appreciate you guys hearing me out on that. I hope I brought some value to some people that are you know, in that beginning stages of their business. It doesn't matter what you're doing, if it's real estate, mortgages, and if it's, you know, a plumber, whatever it is, contracting. Is, you know, make sure that you sit down and you spend the time to force yourself to become strategic about the experience that you're creating for your business, and that's what will give you the ability to grow.
That was awesome, and you know, I've been following Kale on social media for like probably a year or so. I actually connected because of the podcast initially.
Oh, cool.
Someone had been like, oh, you should go listen to this. And then I realized you were local. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like, built an awesome local company, has taken it to a new level. You know, your story is just so intriguing. And I think there's a lot that pieces that we all relate with. But you talked about that experience, right? Creating that experience. Yeah. How did that, maybe even like structurally, how did that shift, right? Like how did you actually transition from the tactical, because even I feel very tactical in a lot of ways right now.
Right.
How do you, like the mindset, but then how do you actually follow through with that?
So how many of you in here have business partners? Okay. You guys have like one of the greatest advantages to you or one of the greatest disadvantages to you, right? And we hear so often like, you got to go on date nights with your wife, and you got to do all these things to keep your marriage happy. And you know, your business partnership's a marriage, and you got to make sure that you're doing the right things with your business partners as well. So after multiple failed attempts at growing businesses, and it was cool, we scaled them to 7-figure business operations, just, you know, straight tactical and sales wise, but they kept imploding. And then obviously with my personal life imploding at the same time, it was like a hard reality. And like I said, I went through years of therapy to learn how to think differently. Because we really identify on our thoughts, right? Like we identify with who we are, we create thoughts, which creates emotions, and those emotions create reactions, and like I had to learn to retrain the way that I thought. And so I came to my business partners one day, and they're just great people, right? Like they probably were doing the same thing I was doing. They're suppressing these feelings of like, are we really doing something right? Like, you know, if someone knocked on our door and investigated us, like, would we be breaking some laws? Like, you know, we had to really become honest with ourselves. And through the therapy, I learned to be honest with myself, right? And so obviously I had to be honest with my partners, and then they were honest with us too. And like, so we had discussions, and we started meeting a lot more, and we created a vision. You know, we're like, hey, what do we really want this to look like 10, 15 years from now? And we all started talking about let's build something that we're proud of. You know what I mean? Like we got families, we got kids that are going to be looking up to us, and we got employees here that got families that depend on us. Like, so really it just took us changing who we were, changing our intentions, and then really getting together with our business partners. I've had so many failed business partnerships too. And when you guys can't align on a long-term vision, it's never gonna be exactly the same, right? Like, but if you can have some core values built in your company with your partners of the long-term vision of your company, like you can get on the same page about 90% of what you guys wanna do, because you're gonna have your own personal goals, you're gonna have your own personal visions. But when you can come aligned on what do we want this company to do, what do we want the experience to be like what type of long-term security we want it to provide. We don't want to keep starting over, you know? So getting aligned with your business partners, or even if it's yourself, like sitting down and just really figuring out what's the long-term vision, and mapping out a strategy around that is going to be a game changer for you. But my partners were a huge asset in that. I had partners in a different business that imploded, our first accounting firm. And honestly, things were pretty good. Systems, processes, all these things, but there was some greed in place. And, you know, I was bringing all the relationships, but I wasn't working in there day to day. And so they started feeling like, you're not here like we are grinding. And I was like, well, I'm grinding for these other companies. I've always been like multiple irons in the fire, spreading myself a little thin, but I was bringing valuable relationships that were referring business to our accounting firm. And so they kind of like they silently built a competing company to kind of break off and do some things. And there's some embezzling, there's these crazy things going on. And it was just like, man, if you can't get Yeah, I decided, I was like, I'm not even gonna sue him. I don't like spending time in court. I don't like attorneys winning, getting all the money, So I mean, that's really who wins. Everybody knows that, But really, we couldn't get aligned on the vision, and that's really what imploded things, right? And so getting my partners on board with the long-term vision is really what allowed us to really build a strategy we all agreed with, And so that was kind of the shifting moment. It was all the personal stuff, the business partnership falling apart with the one accounting firm, the other business failing that we built, which was my partner wrote a course on foreign exchange day trading. It was way before Forex that you guys get now probably in your inboxes on Instagram and Facebook. You guys get those? People soliciting, buy my Forex course, or now crypto. We had a business that wasn't like that. It was actually a pretty cool business, but it imploded, it failed. And so just all the failure, all the personal failures, and then just really becoming honest with ourselves and getting aligned with our partners is what allowed us to let's change the game. And it's been a 10-year process, but the last 5 years, we've super dialed it by getting surrounded by different groups, different business owners, hanging around people at different levels. We joined a group by Ed Milet for about a year and a half, and Andy Frisella. And so and it was you had to apply, and they only accepted 100 business owners. And we were like the small fries in the group, man. We walked in totally imposter syndrome, so scared. We're like, oh my gosh, everyone in here is multi-millionaires. And that was just 3 years ago, right? So the last 3 years have been really awesome because we've learned from other people around us that are doing big things, and they taught us what they were doing to do a better experience for their employees and their customers in order to grow. And so, being a part of those groups has been huge as well. That's what I'm so excited about this. Don's bringing people together. People are doing great things. There's so much to learn from each other, and that's really what's been a game changer for us as well.
Awesome. I think it's such cool. I mean, because I've got just several friends who have joined some of these groups. I know you just went to Cabo or
oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that, right? This is we're building Startup Grind to be this community of entrepreneurs that we can all lean on.
Yeah.
But then you get to these opportunities where you get to join the group, you apply, you get, it's selective.
Yeah.
What do you get from that? How do you choose who you align with?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, first of all, we just had to take a leap of faith, right? Because these were very large investments for us. The first one we joined by Ed Milet and Andy Frisella, it was $75,000 for Trevor and I each, right? And so we were like, our wives are gonna kill us, And we're kind of, they trust us though, right? So we're like, we're doing this, and they're like, okay. But it was eye-opening for us, and I would relate almost all of our success to having the willingness to put ourselves out there, right? Because it's never an easy thing to do. So many people are so afraid to just turn on your phone and film a selfie and put it out to the world. We have these fears and these insecurities that hold us back from really putting ourselves out there. But the people that win are the people who are willing to do it, right? And I've realized that pattern over time. So I told Trevor, I said, hey, I'm joining this Arte group. And he's like, oh, what's it all about? And he was kind of against it. And then he was like, I'm going to start listening to Ed and Andy. And we started listening to podcasts. We really just started feeding our brain with new content, right? Man, people that you can look up to and aspire to and respect what they're doing. And so when the opportunity came to join their group, let's do it, right? And it was scary, but we put ourselves out there and we did it. When we walked in that room, we felt that imposter syndrome as well. We're like, are we supposed to be here? Did we lie on our application? Because everybody questions if the intentions are true, right? You fill out an ad and you're like, only selecting 100 entrepreneurs, and you must meet this criteria, and 50,000 people applied, and we're only accepting 100. You're like, whatever, dude, but I'm just gonna apply anyway because I love their content. And when they say you're accepted, you're like, whatever, you probably just accepted everybody. And so it really took a leap of faith for us to do that, and it was eye-opening when we actually joined that group, and we're like, holy crap. We made so many business connections, and they're just from having conversations. Being willing to go up and shake someone's hand, even if they own a $300 million a year company and you look up to them and put them on a pedestal and you kind of have fanboy stuff going on. It's it kind of takes a lot of courage to go and shake this guy's hand and then try and be real and sit down and have a conversation and learn from them. And that's really what it took. But honestly, when you pay a higher price to be a part of a group, you kind of weed out people that are there just kicking tires, like a B&I or something. And nothing against those, because we started there and there was a ton of value there. But you should. I've been in the $50 rooms. I've been in the 6-figure rooms. that cost to be in those rooms. And so I can tell you that's something that everybody should aspire to do, because your network is everything in business, right? And if it's a network of, like my network in the beginning stages was a bunch of sleazy marketers selling us leads, and we didn't care how they were getting them. Like we're, basically buying garbage and selling garbage. And so really you should aspire to be in different rooms with different people at different levels, even if you weren't as, crappy of a person as I was my first 5 years in business, and your intentions are a lot more pure than mine were. Like, you should still aspire to be around people that are doing bigger things than you and not allow it to hold you back.
Notice I didn't throw the chamber under the bus there.
Yeah. Hey, I heard the chamber's leveling up. There's, common denominator here of guys that are turning it around. I did join the chamber one year, and I was like, I went to one golf event, and then we went to like one meetup, and it was like, I don't know, man. I think all these guys are running for city council or something, But now it sounds like we're getting some young blood in there. We'll have to join again.
Funny thing is, I had the same reaction when I talked about chambers, and then I took over chamber.
Right.
So breathe a new life into it. What questions do y'all have? I mean, this is just such a great opportunity to have Kale here. So let's go to you, Kale or Rick.
First of all, thanks for being vulnerable. I think it's actually really important to be honest. We always talk
Right.
about our success narratives, but rarely do we hear about failure narratives.
Yeah.
And that's where learnings really happen. So just wanted to say thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
The second
Thank
thing
you.
is, I'm curious your advice. When it comes down to building a business, the first problem that we see businesses run into, they solve something nobody cares about, right? And there's ways to solve that.
Right.
The second issue that you hear is, and you'll hear this from every investor, they'll say 65 or more % of their investments fail because of the team.
Right.
It comes down to team issues, that kind of stuff. So then you look at like, well, how do I go build a team or a culture or whatever that looks like, so you have a team that can respond quickly, be strategic, tactical.
Yeah.
There is no frameworks that I found or ways to approach building a culture, and everything is about after the fact. It's like, okay, you have 100 employees, now interview your employees.
Right.
Figure out, build values, mission, vision. And I can guarantee every one of those venture capitalists that had startups that failed because of team issues, they had mission, they had purpose, they
Right.
had values.
Yeah.
So writing those statements isn't working.
Right.
Like, I'm curious about like where the rubber meets the road. Like from your perspective,
Right.
if you were starting a company, let's say there's 2 employees or 1,
Right.
maybe it's just a concept.
Yeah.
How do you start the building process of a company?
Mm-hmm.
Not only just make sure you're solving the right problem, which everybody focuses on because you have lean business model, canvas thinking, all that kind of stuff. There is no frameworks around
Right.
building a team that's aligned and purpose driven.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like.
Sure.
I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, man. Just to be completely real with you, the same shifts that we've seen the last 5 years, we saw in our team as well. In order to be a great leader, you've got to be a great self-leader, and so you've got to take those steps and start leveling up, and people will follow. But your message has to change to them as well, because most of the time in companies, people see whatever, I'm here for building, what was your name? Rick's wealth. You know what I mean? I'm just a pawn in the game. I don't want people to feel like that anymore, because I did that. It was like, oh, well, I'm, paying you this great commission, and, I'm paying you $2 more an hour than you would get at whatever, this other job as a reception, whatever it was. I started selling my vision hard to them about how it's going to affect their lives, and how I wanted them to be a part of it. I started backing it up, right? And so, like, I really take the back seat so often of like, hey, man, you've been doing a kick-ass job. I want you to take over some of my roles, because really, that's one of the hard things to do as a business owner or an investor is like, you think that it's your baby. It's hard to let go of it, right? It's like shipping your kid off to college, and now you got to like let them make their own decisions and trust them, and it's scary, and they're going to have failures, and you got to trust them to make those failures. It's the same thing with like a key player in your company. And the people that come in and they put in the extra effort, they stay the extra hours because, one, they want better for their lives, are the people that you want to start rewarding and show them that you believe in them, and change the language to them instead of like, man, I really hope that you're here next year and maybe I'll give you a raise. I'm like, hey man, I really hope that you're here with me in 10 years. And, I really see you be a key player here. And my mission is more now that I'm at this certain level. I don't look at like, I don't want to become a billionaire. I want to make millionaires in my company. I don't care if they're employee, independent, partner, main owner. Like, I want to make millionaires in my company. And they believe that because so far I've been backing up everything I say I'm going to do for them in the last 5 years. You know, I told one of my top sales guys right now, he was making about $100,000 a year. I was like, dude, I want to see you double and triple it in the next couple of years. And sure shit, he did it. You know, and he took on a lot too, but I started giving him the opportunity to lead and me step back and trust him. And he made mistakes and I had to allow that, right? And so, I don't know, man, I think one of my superpowers is when I see people that really want greater, like I believe in them and I show them that I believe in them and I tell them that I believe in them and that empowers them to step up. And that's changed the game for our culture. On top of that, we also spend a lot of money for everybody in the company, like stock our break room with food and, you know, like we have get-togethers and we laugh and we allow people to be themselves. Like legit, when I hire people, I'm like, hey man, we curse here. You know, and you know, I know you're an accountant from BYU or Dixie State, and you know, like you edit your videos on VidAngel and all this stuff. So I just want to make sure you're the right culture fit, right? And if you hear some bombs being dropped, you can handle it, right? And so I really make sure that we strategically hire people too that are going to come in and fit into the culture. You know, I actually did have a guy that was really offended by the F word, and we don't just walk around dropping it all day, but we hear it in jokes and things like that. But that's kind of our culture, right? And you know, we're still great people, but you know, we really work hard on bringing people in, and we're really honest with them in the very beginning. But we take them out on events. We've got a leadership retreat coming up in Sedona in 2 weeks, and it's just the 6 main leaders, the key players in our company, and then the ownership group. We're going down and we're going to whiteboard and we're going to have fun and we're going to go golf and we're just going to like brainstorm and we're going to talk about, just like I said, the conversations are different in our company lately. And it's like, what's what we're going to talk about? We do getaways just like that. Recently, we took our entire company up to Bryce Canyon. We brought in speakers that were awesome. One of them got stuck on the tarmac. He couldn't make it. We just met with him yesterday. He's coming up to speak at our Christmas party. Like, man, we invest in them. And here's the thing about culture. It's like the worst investment to your accountant, right? Which I'm an accounting firm, so it pains me to say that, because there is no gauge of ROI on it. Like, you can't be like, well, how much big of a return did we get on stocking our break room and taking them to all these events and having, you know, fun days at the park and, you know, playing cornhole and just wiping our schedule clean for a couple hours. And we started doing workout Wednesdays where we meet down at the track at the college and people are, you know, changing their lives. We had a guy who's like 400 pounds and Trevor's been training him. He's lost almost 200 pounds. And he's like, he's done the work, but Trevor just empowered him, right? And like we've just invested in the people despite seeing what the ROI was, right? Because it's impossible. You can't see what the ROI is now, but we're willing to invest into it. Like, I could take bigger paychecks. I'm still sacrificing for my company. Like, you know, a lot of my friends are driving Ferraris and Lamborghinis and doing crazy stuff here in town and down in Dallas. And it's like, I'm still showing up in my Toyota Avalon, you know, and it's like, I could go buy those things, but I'd rather invest into our culture, man. I'd rather take a pay cut. And I've had great raises in the last 5 years, so I can't complain. But like, man, I'm willing to take less to invest into them and show them that I believe in them and back it up so that like they buy in, like really buy in, not just say they are, you know? And so I don't know, that's kind of a long answer to your question. I hope it helps, but that's truly what we've done. You know, it's just, that's it, you know, just invest in them.
I think we do have to give a shout out to his boots.
Yeah.
Boot game though, right? Like,
right. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I will. I mean, I'll spend some. I like nice things. Don't get me wrong, but I've been willing to wait for them, you know, to get to this point, and I'm still willing to invest a lot of things I would like, the shiny stuff, to continue to grow and get us to the next level for everybody. In fact, our mission really is to impact everyone inside the company and our clients. So.
Oh, we have time for one more question.
Is there any reason that you guys chose to grow an accounting firm versus something else? You guys don't strike me as like accountant.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if it was accountant, just you don't strike me as
Yeah.
why that versus something else.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's some cool stories behind that. I grew up in a home that was torn by financial issues, specifically IRS. You see, impulsiveness and ignorance will always cause implosion in your business, right? And my dad was both of those things. He ran a contracting business and he was a, hard worker, right? But man, I can't tell you how many fights we saw in our home literally some of the parents, like sometimes my parents being hauled off in a police car over domestic disputes, that money always was the stem of the issue. Why? Because, you know, it was a little harsher back then than the IRS is now, but knocking on our door, levying bank accounts of my dad, garnishing paychecks. My mom finally went and got a job because the IRS was just like taking all these resources away from my dad and his business, and so she gets a job. They garnish her paychecks. You know, they destroyed their credit, forced them into bankruptcy, leaned their home. All these things happen, right? So my thinking as a young kid who always loved the idea of money, always loved the idea of wealth, right? Because we grew up poor. You know, we lived on this crazy shoestring budget. We had some good years, but typically it was, we lived poor. When the IRS basically took everything, I had this thought, why would anybody want to be a business owner if the IRS can come in and just take it? Like, why would anyone want to do that? I just want to make good money working for someone else, right? Well, luckily, I landed a sales job at an accounting firm, and I fell in love with it. And part of it was because of my upbringing. And so the mission when I started the accounting firm wasn't because I wanted to change lives for business owners and be unique and be different than other accounting firms. The mission was to get rich, right? That was the mission for the first 5 years, like I talked about. But because of my upbringing, I always went back to that, and I always used it in my sales pitch. Like, I was like, you know what, I really, truly want to help business owners avoid that problem. And it's the biggest problem for startups. Oh, I'll deal with taxes later. Like, they're all about just getting the money, getting the stuff coming in, and focusing on their talents that they're good at. I truly want to help business owners, and especially new business owners in the early stages. And so we started really going heavy on our marketing and our podcast, on our networking, on our affiliates. Like, we started going heavy on how can we really help them avoid these problems and get the point across to them that they've got a tax plan now, that they need to set up the proper structures now. If you don't think down the road a little bit on your business entity structures, guess what? It comes back to bite you later with your tax strategies as those evolve. And so you need someone that's going to be like, sit you down and, what's your goals? And how can we build a plan in order to get you those goals without creating a mess? Because if you don't set up the right entity for your business, and then you go out and set up merchant accounts, bank accounts, business licenses, and all these things. And then later you're like, oh, I should have set up an LLC or an S corporation or a C corporation. Well, now you got to go redo it all, and it's a pain in the butt. And so we really that's our marketing, right? And we've seen the reward of helping people do that. But everything I learned at that accounting firm, and I was just a sales guy, but I learned a lot because I fell in love with it because of my upbringing, really inspired me to start a business around the financial services industry in accounting. And then the last 5 years, it really inspired me to really make it our mission to help business owners avoid those issues. And Trevor had no ambitions to be like an accounting firm owner. He worked for me as a sales guy for many years, and he was just a natural leader, man. He's just like, take the bull by the horns, face problems, solve problems. He looked to take things off my plate, so that we could continue to grow. And so when I had all those business partnerships that failed and imploded, I was like, man, you're probably going to do your own thing one day anyway. Why don't you come help me build this thing, right? And he's been a great asset to that. But me and Trevor aren't accountants. That's why we're so unique. And the biggest selling point is that we're not accountants. We're like, hey, we're entrepreneurs. We've built a firm to service entrepreneurs, how entrepreneurs need to be serviced, because they suck at accounting. And if we can show them our systems and processes how to help hold them accountable to get us what we need to truly take it off their plate, and we can teach our accountants how to not be boring and service people better and actually care about and think more entrepreneurial, we can be totally different. And that's really when I talk about changing your guys' vision and being strategic about it, it's that's what we did. What's the strategy on being not the norm, but better, and creating that experience in your industry, right? If you're a real estate agent, 90% of you all do the same thing, right? It's you all do the same thing. What can you do that's gonna be different, that's gonna stand out, that people are gonna talk about you, And we had the opportunity to do that in accounting. So I love accounting for multiple reasons. Everybody needs it, everybody hates it in business, right? So it's the easiest thing to sell if you can show them how to solve a problem, but then all the other stuff too, from my upbringing to, just the reward of actually solving those problems.